Tonight, Victorians told to get ready for a widespread flood emergency. Some warned to prepare to be cut off for days. Thousands caught in Melbourne airport chaos after a security breach. A Good Samaritan attacked trying to help after a high-speed crash in the northern suburbs. Ukrainian cities hit hard by Russian missiles as Australia considers sending troops. Families facing a power crunch with bills set to jump by 35%. And Brodie Grundy becomes a D as trades go down to the wire.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening. Victorians are being warned to prepare for a flooding emergency with a massive downpour expected to dump up to 100 millimetres in what authorities describe as a significant rain event. Some Victorians are being told to get ready to be cut off for up to 72 hours.
Our dams are spilling, catchments are full, the ground is saturated, and now
we have a significant rain event on Victoria's doorstep.
The drenching is set to begin tomorrow, with showers and storms building across much of the state, then hit with full force.
The real concern, though, is from the very early hours of Thursday morning right through to Friday morning, where we're expecting widespread falls of 20 to 50 millimetres across much of Victoria.
Up to 100 millimetres could lash parts north of the Dividing Range.
Even a minor amount of rain would be a risk in terms of flooding.
Metropolitan Melbourne should brace for flash flooding, a warning there will be heavier rainfall than what we waded through last week. Flood-prone roads could be closed before drivers make the same mistake.
Don't drive into flash floodwaters because it could be the last decision you actually make.
Of most concern are river communities mainly north of the ranges. Residents told to be on high alert and arm themselves with sandbags as they watch and wait.
Longer term risk beyond Thursday as those waters find their way down those river systems.
We will see isolation, we'll see roads cut, we will see parts of communities that may be inundated with floodwater.
The Premier says emergency services are ready to respond.
There are a couple of hundred generators out at Laverton waiting to be deployed to communities who may lose power. There are 7 choppers that are on standby and more that can be accessed.
If communities are cut off by floodwaters, there are 2 of these containers ready to be deployed. They're fully loaded with essential items such as food and water, power and bedding to sustain up to 50 people for 5 days. But authorities say residents should also stock up.
You yourself need to take charge. You need to make sure that you are prepared for up to 72 hours of potential isolation.
Forecasters warn this week's deluge is just the beginning.
All Victorians need to now be prepared for flooding that's likely to occur for another 6 to 8 weeks on and off as we continue to see these rain events roll through.
Jade Vincent, 7 News.
And in developing news, Falls Creek will be cut off from midday tomorrow because of a landslide due to recent heavy rain. 7 News meteorologist Jane Bunn is tracking the system. And Jane, which areas will be most at risk of flash flooding?
Well, Mitch, that's what we see first with this system, flash flooding. It is as quick as it sounds, water suddenly rushing up in amongst heavy rain. Tomorrow night and during the day on Thursday, all these yellow areas are in the danger zone. This includes Geelong and Melbourne, but not the rest of the metro area. They're not in that danger zone yet. Thursday night is when the city and suburbs are set for the heaviest rain. So Thursday night is when it'll be most dangerous on our roads. I'll have the full details on that later, Mitch.
See you then. Thank you, Jane. Thousands have been caught in chaos at Melbourne Airport, pulled off planes and ordered to evacuate the terminal after a security breach. Emma O'Sullivan is at Melbourne Airport this evening, and Emma, they had to be re-screened because of a single mistake blamed on one passenger.
Mitch, Qantas says this passenger arrived on a red-eye from Perth and made their way to the baggage carousels. They actually didn't need to collect any luggage though because they had a connecting flight, so they've gone back inside through one-way doors. Security couldn't track that person on CCTV. That's what sparked the move to shut down an entire terminal. Thousands ordered back through security during the morning peak.
Everybody that went in that had been screened had to get out again.
Just spent 21 hours flying from Rome, and we thought, wow, there's nobody here, until we came down to this area and we went, what's happened? It's just utter chaos.
A headache not only for departing passengers waiting at gates, but also for 2 plane loads who had already boarded and were about to take off.
Pilot told us that we had to evacuate the plane. They were evacuating the terminal, and he also communicated with us that, there was some sort of security breach and somebody had slipped through.
It sparked more than a dozen delays for domestic flights around the country.
No one's told us how long. They're showing delayed on the flights, but as to be expected.
I've got meetings to be held in Sydney that I'm going to be very late for now, but it is what it is. Welcome to the modern world.
A lot of people were quite frightened. There were a lot of families, a lot of people transferring from the international terminal as well.
Qantas apologised to customers, but the airline is laying the blame with 1 passenger. The man arrived from Perth and went through one-way doors to the baggage carousel area before turning around to catch a connecting flight. He was spoken to by federal police. No further action was taken. Qantas says the passenger concerned was in this area for less than a minute. Their exit did trigger a security alarm, and the airline is investigating why these doors didn't lock as they're supposed to. A similar incident happened at Sydney Airport last month when a passenger inadvertently bypassed security and boarded a flight to Melbourne. This morning, 2,000 people were evacuated from Adelaide Airport because of a fault with security scanning equipment. A bumpy start for weary travellers. Emma O'Sullivan, 7 News.
Police are on alert for a second assassination attempt on a former Mongols bikie. Cassie Zervos has exclusive details. Cassie, Sam Abdul Rahim has survived one attempt on his life, but police fear there's more to come.
Well, Mitch, Victoria Police is so concerned for the safety and welfare of Sam Abdul Rahim. They've been told to be on high alert for another attempted hit. It's a rare move prompted by police intelligence, and they're focusing on 2 key locations linked to the 32-year-old. The new threat comes 5 months after he was ambushed in a daylight shooting. He was peppered with bullets outside Faulkner Cemetery. I've been told police have spoken to Sam Abdul Rahim about this new threat. He's told investigators he's not fazed and is instead focusing on a boxing competition this weekend. Detectives from Echo and Viper will be stepping up their patrols, but officers have also been warned to look out for their own safety as tensions rise. Mitch.
Cassie Zervos at Police Headquarters, thank you. A Good Samaritan has told 7 News he was bashed and almost carjacked by teenagers he raced to help after a Thomastown crash. Security camera pictures show the teenager's car travelling at frightening speed before smashing into a truck.
The speeding SUV was a roaring blur to other motorists. The impact of the crash with a truck tore both vehicles apart. Father of 2, Trevor Royals, was one of the first on the scene. He saw the horror smash unfold and pulled over to help.
People sort of tumbling out the front of it. I was convinced someone was dead. It was a really horrible accident.
Trevor Royals says he was attacked when he tried to help a teen, claiming he took his car keys and tried to start it. The 54-year-old says he was punched when he tried to stop him.
It was like a roundhouse to the back of the head, and down I went and saw stars.
4 teenagers had been in the stolen SUV. Just 2 minutes after the crash, one of the teens tried to walk away along Marnie's Road. The truck driver managed to free himself from the cabin, which was nearly torn from the chassis. Despite the ferocity of the impact, the truck driver is expected to be back at work next week. The 69-year-old managed to walk away with just a broken index finger and has a sore knee. 3 of the boys in the car, aged 14 to 15, have now been charged with offences including dangerous driving and theft of a motor vehicle. A 19-year-old Calcallo man remains in hospital and has yet to be interviewed. Trevor Royals was hospitalised and had CT scans for a possible concussion. Despite being attacked while trying to do the right thing, he wouldn't hesitate to offer to help again.
I haven't lost faith in humankind.
Cameron Bowe, 7 News.
Former federal parliamentary staffer Brittany Higgins has been unavailable to give evidence at Bruce Lerriman's rape trial for the second day in a row. Ms Higgins was due to return to court yesterday for her third day of cross-examination. The court instead heard from a number of witnesses, including Linda Reynolds, former Chief of Staff, as well as a Parliament House cleaner. The trial continues tomorrow. Australia is considering sending troops to Europe to help train Ukrainian soldiers after Russian missile attacks hit more than a dozen cities and towns. Ukraine is describing the bombardments as the worst so far, leaving civilians dead and injured.
The drive to work, rocked by Vladimir Putin's spiteful revenge. Dozens of rockets came down on cities across Ukraine, including the capital. Residential buildings, busy intersections, a children's playground. Here a young woman describes her panic at one missile strike when a second explodes nearby. The barrage just kept on coming, live on TV.
The front lines was hit, more than a dozen.
Struck too, this Kyiv tourist hotspot, a glass pedestrian bridge. This woman alive by metres, seconds and luck. The Kremlin saying it hit its targets that appeared to be civilians. 11 people killed, dozens injured. Kyiv has enjoyed relative peace, normality in recent months. That's been shattered. An attack on the Ukrainian people, on the national psyche.
Another attack, continued attack of Russia on Ukraine. Killed civilians.
He started to be an enemy number one in history, not Hitler, Putin, number one.
The EU called this a war crime.
You can hardly hope for a stable and sane peace as long as an unstable and insane dictatorship exists in your vicinity.
Ukraine's president conceding it was a difficult morning, labelling Putin's Russia terrorists, before taking a call from President Joe Biden, who promised advanced air defence systems. The new attacks, though, haven't triggered new nuclear fears from the United States.
We have not seen any reason to adjust our own strategic nuclear posture.
Массированный удар высокоточным оружием.
At the Kremlin, the Russian leader claimed the attacks were delivered with precision, warning this is just the so-called first episode. His response to the explosion that destroyed part of the bridge linking Russia to occupied Crimea. But it's also a significant escalation. In Kyiv's metro, deep below ground, those taking shelter sang the national anthem. Their resolve tested once more.
And Sarah Greenhalgh joins us live from inside Ukraine tonight. Sarah, it's early there. What's unfolding now?
Well, right now, Peter, this is a country on edge again. Cities and towns that had been clear of violence for several months have been brought back into this war. Ukraine says at least 83 missiles were fired, 43 of them were shot down. Moscow is targeting critical infrastructure, things like electricity and water supplies. Both were knocked out here in the city of Lviv yesterday, but almost fully restored overnight. In the coming hours, G7 leaders will have a virtual meeting. They will hear from President Zelensky with the latest on this crisis. The Ukrainian president says his country will not be intimidated by Putin's latest act of desperation. Instead, he says people here will unite to continue defeating Russia. Peter?
Sarah Greenhalgh in Ukraine, thank you. Back home now, a teacher accused of sexually assaulting a former student has faced her alleged victim in court. Elisa Ericello is accused of abusing the girl more than 20 years ago. It's alleged the incidents happened at a number of locations, including a primary school playground, at a home and in Ericello's car. The 50-year-old remains on bail. Energy companies are warning that home power bills are going to jump by another 35%. It's one more hit for family budgets, but the Federal Treasurer is ruling out the prospect of government relief.
Trying to make an honest go of it, Adam Gunsler is up against rising bills.
It's on $1,200, now it's like $2,400. Home's gone from $150 to $300 now.
At his St Albans grocery store, the cost of keeping the fridges cool and the lights on has doubled. For now, he doesn't want to pass the cost on to his customers.
If I do that, I'm going to lose customers. I'll have to bite the bullet for this, and I don't know how long it's going to go. It's really frustrating. I don't know. Look, this is becoming a joke.
His experience, not unique.
We have seen an increase of $300. That is a 25% increase since April.
And energy retailers this week warned of more power pain on the horizon. They expect prices could leap another 35% next year.
We are very concerned about what's happening with power prices.
There are many reasons for the soaring prices. War raging in Ukraine, extreme weather conditions, and Australia is making the move from coal to renewables.
Certainly be more expensive than most people think it will be.
A perfect storm for energy prices.
We're in for a pretty stormy time, and look, we can see a time in the future, maybe 10 years' time, maybe 5 years' time, where things are much better.
The Treasurer says don't expect Commonwealth cash relief.
I don't want to get into the situation of spraying cash around in a way that is counterproductive.
Leaving customers like Mr Gunsler to do what they can.
It's really shocked, so I will definitely call them, but I think I have to shop around as well.
A last-ditch bid in an increasingly dire situation. Jodie Lee, 7 News.
The Optus data breach is now under investigation from Australia's Information Commissioner. If it's found to have breached privacy laws, Optus could face civil penalties of up to $2.2 million per offence. The probe will look into whether the telco took reasonable steps to protect the personal information of its millions of customers. Collingwood fans are crying foul. Abby Gelmy, the Pies have traded out a champion ruckman.
They certainly have. Brodie Grundy is officially a demon, and for a bargain basement price. Live to Mitch Cleary, and Mitch Grundy's dream of being a Pie for life has officially been shattered.
Well, Abby, Grundy wanted to stay and see out his 5-year contract, but the Pies had other ideas. Grundy saying, "My desire to remain at Collingwood did not change this year. However, after recent conversations with the club, this dream could no longer be a reality. Time to dream a different dream." This is purely a salary cap decision. The Pies paying up to $300,000 a season of his deal, close to $1 million. Collingwood forking out for Grundy and Adam Treloar to play elsewhere. Grundy costing just pick 27, and now partners Max Gawn in a Demons ruck dream team. Ex-Kangaroo Jason Horne-Francis has spilled some home truths in his first day in Port Adelaide colours too. We'll hear from him in sport. Abby?
Thank you, Mitch. Also coming up in sport, 15 million reasons why Craig Williams is skipping Saturday's Caulfield Cup. And our cricket skip ate a bit of hot water for colourful language against England. The details are coming soon.
OK, Abby, thank you. We'll see you then. There's another big move on train fares with a promise to cut them in half. The details are next on 7 News. Also coming up, heavily armed police on patrol in Kuta as Bali remembers a deadly night. The final farewell for boxing legend Johnny Famechon. Live coverage as Victoria says goodbye. And later, the big health insurance savings just waiting to be cashed in. The state opposition is raising its public transport pitch ahead of November's election, pledging to halve V-Line fares for all regional trips for the next 4 years.
If there's more and more people taking the trains and V-Line coaches, that's a good thing. That's a great thing because it means more people are moving around our state and they're paying less to do it.
Today's promise comes after the Liberals promised to cap public transport in Melbourne to just $2 a day. Heavily armed police are patrolling Kuta tonight on the eve of the 20th anniversary of the Bali bombings. Robert Ovadia is in Bali this evening, and Robert, there is high security in Indonesia for the events marking this tragic day in Australia's history.
Yes, Peter,
frankly pretty sad to see. There were about a dozen police armed with machine guns we saw right here outside the memorial, the site of the Sari Club bombing back in 2002. Perhaps cosmetic reasons more than anything, just to make people feel safe, which is pretty ironic when you see them. It's not the sort of thing you would have seen 20 years ago, and certainly a sign of how much the psyche of this island has changed in all the years since.
Australian-owned Pad's Bar and Grill in the heart of Kuta. Similar in name only to Paddy's Bar, targeted that terrible night, but that was 20 years ago.
From my personal opinion, yeah, we've moved on, yeah.
Not this week though, commemorating what was lost for Australians and Balinese.
This happened in their country, so it does affect them, but they'll go down and they'll pay their respects as well.
Victims, first responders and diplomats will attend tomorrow's commemoration at the Australian Consulate. As if this island needs a reminder of why, police patrol the Sari Club Memorial with machine guns. Bali hosts the G20 summit next month, as reports suggest the terror group responsible for murdering 88 Australians, Jamaat Islamiyah, is re-energising.
To this day, the horror and cruelty inflicted on so many innocent people weighs heavily on the AFP.
It will always weigh heaviest on those Australians who saw, heard, smelt, felt what happened. Carnage in a flash of light.
So I suffered burns to 60% of my body, some serious shrapnel injuries, bilateral hearing loss, some swelling on the brain.
There are positive legacies. The Australia Memorial Centre features an ICU, operating theatre and burns unit.
This afternoon we will admit the patient from operating theatre.
The Australian government has offered to cover the costs of victims making the pilgrimage to tomorrow's commemoration, but many have turned the invitation down. For them, it is this simple. They are not coming back here. In Bali, Robert Ovadia, 7 News.
Back home, the state memorial for legendary boxer Johnny Famechon is underway at Festival Hall this evening. Nick McCallum is there, and Nick, it's a fitting location for his send-off.
Yes, it is, Peter. Inside this hall, Johnny Famechon fought 50 times, including his first bout in 1961. He died in August at the age of 77. Tonight, he's being farewelled by friends, fans and family. He was a part of the golden age of Australian boxing. In 1969, he won the world featherweight title in London. When he returned home to Melbourne, 250,000 people lined the streets. Sadly, in 1991, he was hit by a car while jogging in Sydney. He suffered a major brain injury, but he fought back, teaching himself how to walk and talk again. He's always been a great inspiration to his fellow boxers.
He still had that humour, and he used to say, I was poetry in motion, and that's exactly what he was. The epitome of boxing is hit and not be hit, and he was a master at it.
Famo is being remembered tonight as a great of Australian boxing. He was a legend who never took himself too seriously, Peter.
Nick McCallum outside the West Melbourne Stadium, thank you. The Victoria Racing Club is honouring the late Lillian Frank this Melbourne Cup Carnival. The VRC will name the Fashions on the Field Millinery Award after the woman known for her hats.
She was all about the hat. The bigger, the better, the more flamboyant, and Melbourne Cup was it. Melbourne Cup was like Christmas at our house.
Lillian Frank, considered Melbourne's original influencer, died in August at the age of 92. A $10 million mistake has landed a Melbourne woman in court. Next on 7 News, she's accused of going on a spending spree after the money went into her bank account, but it wasn't hers. Also, the rapper accused of a northern suburbs murder. How a Hollywood star and a new roux are selling Australia to the world. And after sport, the storm over an engagement ring up for sale after a split-up. A rapper is one of 2 men charged over a fatal shooting in a home on Melbourne's northern outskirts. Lachlan Belmore is charged with murder, home invasion and trafficking ice.
Too many times, yeah. Too many people, too many lies. Yeah, I'm just trying to live my life.
He's accused of killing 22-year-old Griffin Harris last month. Investigators believe the shooting was a targeted attack. A couple has faced court accused of going on a spending spree after finding $10 million in their bank account that didn't belong to them. The money was accidentally transferred into the account by a crypto company.
From a luxury Craigieburn property to a pair of prison cells, Thevamanagari Manavel and Jatinder Singh have gone from riches to rags. The 40-year-old mum is accused of spending $10.4 million that was accidentally transferred into her account by Crypto.com. She says Singh told her he won the money in a contest run by the global trading platform.
Fortune favours the brave.
Detectives allege Manavel bought a $1.35 million home and also used $1.2 million to pay off a friend's mortgage. She also shared more than $1 million with her 3 daughters and spent $70,000 on a luxury vehicle. The disability worker was arrested at Melbourne Airport, holding a one-way ticket to Malaysia. Detectives say she was trying to flee the country, but her lawyers claim she was simply going to visit family. The majority of the funds have since been returned, with about $3 million still outstanding. Manavel was this afternoon granted bail ahead of her next court appearance. Singh remains behind bars. The couple set to be reunited when they both stand trial. Estelle Greeping, 7 News.
Convicted rapist and disgraced movie mogul Harvey Weinstein is facing a new trial in Los Angeles. Jury selection has begun as Weinstein faces 4 counts of rape and 7 other sexual assault charges involving 5 women. Weinstein has pleaded not guilty and faces life in prison if convicted. He's already serving a 23-year sentence in New York. And the Duke of Sussex has shared a rare insight about his 2 children on a video call with the winners of this year's Well Child Awards.
In answer to your question, Henry, Archie is very, very busy and Lily is learning to use her voice, which is great.
The awards celebrate the inspirational qualities of seriously ill children. A new Australian tourism campaign has been launched with an animated ambassador encouraging visitors to come down under. Ruby, the cartoon kangaroo, has a message to the world. Come and say g'day.
Hopping to bring the world back. Ruby the Roo, Australia's new face for international tourists.
At Tourism Australia, we just can't wait for the world to fall in love with Ruby as she invites international travellers to come and say g'day.
In Tokyo today, then bounding onto billboards in key markets, Singapore, the London Underground and Times Square, New York.
We love it. There's one thing that screams Australia. It's a kangaroo and Ruby Roo is the girl.
She's also actress Rose Byrne in new commercials unveiled next week.
I'm really proud to have played a role in this campaign and voiced the character of Ruby the Roo as part of Come and Say G'day.
Ruby's bilingual. In Japan, she's one of its favourite movie stars.
It is a special honour for me to play a part in inviting the world to come and say good day.
Not the first Aussie critter to bring Americans here. Paul Hogan offered prawns.
I'll slip an extra shrimp on the barbie for you.
Kylie Minogue tempted the English with a marsupial. We've even tried camels and getting cranky.
So everybody, how are you?
Today, the soft launch of what's intended to be the strong sell of Australia as a leading international tourism destination, but with a long way to make up after the pandemic.
Being seen as the friendly country we always have been is a really critical post-pandemic outcome.
Cue Ruby and her welcoming g'day. Chris Marr, 7 News.
Victorians are about to face more bill pain in just a couple of weeks. The price rises coming soon and what to do about it is ahead on 7 News. Also, why the pressure is coming off car prices. Free fashion events showcasing Melbourne's up-and-coming designers. And after sport, the Tiffany diamond ring sparking debate about a relationship breakup. A Narre Warren man has faced court over a terrifying sword attack in Melbourne's southeast. Officers swooped yesterday after a tip-off, seizing swords, clothing and other evidence. 2 people were slashed in a random attack last week, sparking an 8-day manhunt. The 39-year-old suspect is behind bars, refusing to cooperate with police. There are signs the shortage of new cars is easing. Here's Gemma Acton with a look at the markets.
Thanks, Peter. A lunchtime turnaround saw a positive day turn sour. The ASX 200 shedding 23 points to close at 6,645. Energy stocks were in the firing line as oil prices retreated. The Aussie dollar's slide is gathering pace. It's now below 63 US cents, while iron ore prices are up. That's as buyers in China restock after a week-long holiday. And after soaring during the pandemic, used vehicle prices have now fallen for 4 months straight, including by 1.1% last month. The main reason is more new vehicles being available as the global chip shortage eases. Despite the falls, prices are still 15% higher than last year. Peter.
Thanks, Gemma. And still on finance, Victorians are about to suffer another blow to the hip pocket with the cost of private health insurance to rise again. The country's biggest health funds will lift their prices next month.
The insurance premium COVID relief handed to millions of Australians is coming to an end. The country's biggest health funds postponed their April increases. Now Medibank AHM, Bupa, NIB and HCF will deliver premium price hikes of up to 3.18% on November the 1st.
I was going, do we scrap it completely?
Anne Bowie is on maternity leave and one income. She quickly swapped health insurers, avoided the premium increase and saved money.
$50 a month, so that's probably $600. $600 could go to the mortgage, could go for extra grocery bills.
Cost of living pressures are the nation's biggest worry, and these annual increases won't help.
That equals about an extra $125 for families or couples to fork out on average, and about $58 extra on average for singles.
Households could save a massive $3,000 by keeping children on family health cover until age 31. Downgrading gold policies to silver could save singles more than $1,800 per year. And changing healthcare providers has saved 1 in 4 switchers over $500 a year.
Now could be a good time to shop around and take advantage of any deals and incentives on offer.
Households are urged to review their cover every 6 to 12 months. Jackie Quist, 7 News.
First Nations designers were the focus of today's Melbourne Fashion Week events. Models walked on a runway from Federation Square to Birrarung Ma as part of a free show.
Back of house, front of house, models, designers, finally showcasing black excellence in the Australian fashion industry.
The week-long event is expected to inject $45 million into the economy. Sport is next with Abby Gelmy. And Abby, the clock's ticking down to the AFL trade deadline.
25 hours and counting, Mitch, and there's still at least 9 deals in limbo. We'll cross live next. Also, a former Kangaroo delivers a parting shot to North Melbourne. The heart-to-heart that convinced a triple premiership Hawk to head north. The Aussie cricket captain in hot water for a foul-mouthed tirade. And 15 million reasons why a veteran jockey is skipping Saturday's Caulfield Cup. Welcome back. Footy fans are counting down to tomorrow night's AFL trade deadline. Chief Football reporter Tom Brown has been working the phones, and Tom, at least 9 deals are still in limbo.
Abby, it was a day of significant progress, but there's at least 9 deals that we know of that remain outstanding. The biggest standoff tonight, really, Oliver Henry and who blinks first. Geelong is offering pick 25. Collingwood under a bit of pressure now over the poor return on Grundy, at least comparatively so, insisting on a first round. Now, Henry has told Pies coach Craig McRae that he isn't coming back to Collingwood, won't re-sign. Will Collingwood blink, or could they let him to go to North for nothing and make a stand? Now, 2 clubs are now chasing Hawke, Jaeger, O'Meara, Fremantle and the Giants. It's a bit of a Dad's Army exodus under Sam Mitchell at Hawthorn. You've got Tom Mitchell likely to get to Collingwood tomorrow, O'Meara, and there's obviously triple premiership Hawk Jack Gunston now officially a Lion, who wasn't worried about Chris Fagan's investigation.
Obviously, when everything came out, it
was worth another phone call and a chat. But to be honest, I can only go off my experiences with Fags, and for me, he's been a great sounding board throughout my career.
And Abby, just finally, embattled Bombers President David Barham has written to members tonight, these are the first steps of the football review, the external one. They'll appoint a general manager of performance and a head of development prepared to go over the soft cap and pay the tax potentially. They're focused on footy. Now, Essendon's AGM is scheduled for late December. There is noise building still that a bigger successful name like Paul Little could emerge as their president later in the year at the Bombers, Abby.
Thank you, Tom. The Tigers have pounced on another young star from the Giants. Live to Mitch Cleary. And Mitch, Richmond's midfield will be the envy of 17 clubs next year.
Well, Abby, Jacob Hopper is a Tiger. Richmond giving up a future first-rounder and pick 31, partnering him with former Giants teammate Tim Taranto. Both join on 7-year deals in a midfield catapulting Richmond back into flag contention alongside Martin, Bolton, Prestia and Cochin. They've also kept Ivan Soldo as clubs increasingly anticipate a 5-man bench next year. Jason Horne-Francis has admitted he wasn't as professional as he could have been in his first 12 months at North Melbourne, but said the uncertainty at Arden Street played a role in his decision, while also making a bold call on his status in the game.
Well, I wanted to make sure that I was in a stable environment, coming into this year, and I think a lot of people know it might be another unstable year at North. I mean, hopefully one day could be the best player in the competition.
Jack Bowes is a Cat, a massive win for Geelong for taking on his $1.6 million salary. The Cats also get pick 7 and only send back a third rounder. Grundy, the big move of the day. The Pies taking pick 27 for the dual All-Australian. And finally, former Roos coach David Noble has replaced the man who played a role in his sacking, Jeff Walsh, on the AFL coaches board. Abby?
Thank you, Mitch. Aussie T20 captain Aaron Finch has been reprimanded for a foul-mouthed outburst against England in Perth. The broadcast might picked up Finch's fiery exchange with an umpire.
And he didn't give you an answer, so can you check if it carried? Did it carry, yes? I would have been nice to know he's on.
Finch was not happy he wasn't given an answer before the 15-second window expired, meaning he couldn't challenge the not-out decision. Game 2 against England is in Canberra tomorrow night. And Matilda's superstar Sam Kerr will return to the starting side for tomorrow morning's friendly against Denmark. Kerr's battled illness in the 4-1 win over South Africa. There was just one game in the Premier League this morning, but it was a memorable one.
Young! Oh! Roll back the years. Ashley Young out of pretty much nothing. Henderson beaten from distance again.
Young's stunning strike helped Aston Villa draw 1-1 with Nottingham Forest. Veteran jockey Craig Williams will skip Saturday's Group 1 Caulfield Cup to chase the biggest payday of his life in Sydney. Williams is riding unbeaten sprinter Giga Kick in the $15 million Everest.
When Giga Kick came up and the option was to ride him up there or be back at Caulfield for the Caulfield Cup, it was definitely a hard decision. Myself and my manager really love Giga Kick, and we think he's a horse of the future.
The Everest is the world's richest race on turf, and all the action from Randwick and Caulfield is live and free on 7 from noon. And if you're wondering just how much jockeys take home for the Everest, $310,000. Not bad if you're Kerrin McAvoy and you've won it 3 times.
Not bad at all. It is a dangerous occupation, though.
It is. They earn every cent, but goodness me, not bad for 70 seconds.
Yeah, terrific. Thank you very much indeed, Abby. A former fiancée has listed her expensive engagement ring for sale on Facebook after a bitter breakup. It sparked a heated debate about whether it's hers to sell or if she should hand it back to the buyer.
Like one jilted lover, the extravagant Tiffany engagement ring is back on the market.
If you've been together a short time, yeah, give it back.
I'd sell that ring immediately. I'm sorry, I'd make the money back.
We see it all the time. It happens every day.
The 1-carat diamond listed for sale online after the engagement fell through. The woman writes, selling this for obvious reasons. I do, now I don't. It's valued at $23,500 at Tiffany's, the seller willing to part with it for $18,500.
If they do want to sell it
privately so they can redeem a fair amount of money for it.
She doesn't have the receipt for the near-new ring, confirming she didn't buy it.
It's a gift. An engagement ring is a gift. It is a sign of wanting to get married, but if the relationship then breaks up, you're not entitled to get the ring back.
But family law experts warn it may not be hers to sell.
And until the umpire blows the whistle or until a settlement is effected, you have to be very careful about what you do with that ring.
To prevent an engagement ring dispute from ending in a costly court battle, warring couples are being urged to divide their assets in mediation instead.
The easiest way to avoid confrontation and potentially to avoid court is to ask the person that gave you the ring, what do we want to do about the ring?
Sonia Marinelli, 7 News.
Not going down that path. Jane Bunn is next with the forecast. And Jane, the rain begins tomorrow.
Mitch, it does indeed, but in Melbourne it's light. We don't see our heavy rain until later on Thursday. The full details are next.
Hello, tonight on the latest from 7 News, a Bali bombing survivor shares his memories of that night on the eve of the 20th anniversary. An urgent meeting of world leaders happening soon after Russia's latest bombardment of Ukraine, the results of those talks, and tributes from tonight's state funeral for legendary boxer Johnny Famechon. When it breaks, we'll have it all at 11:10.
They're the deals that shape careers and teams. Big names, big moves, big news. You'll get the inside word first on 7 News. Inside Trades with Tim Watson. 7 News at 6.
Hello again. Today is the last nice day before the rain slowly begins tomorrow and intensifies on Thursday. Temperatures jumped up thanks to a northerly wind. The city reached a top of 22, still 20 out there now. All suburbs rose up to 20 or higher as it quickly warmed up after a cool start. There are sheets of high cloud crossing Victoria. This is not the type of cloud that produces rain, but it is the cloud that we see as rain approaches. The Mallee has reached a top of 26, almost double figures up in the Alps. All eyes are on a low that is churning over the Bight. That is driving a cold front, and that is what is going to bring our big rain. Look how slow moving it is, which means big rainfalls for us. It begins slowly tomorrow, the northeast first, then turning more widespread and increasing over the west and north. Melbourne is in the rain shadow tomorrow, so it's only light. That changes on Thursday. Watch the yellow area develop. That is intense rain. It'll affect north and south of the ranges, peaking in Melbourne on Thursday night before continuing through the east on Friday. Now, it does peter out as it crosses East Gippsland. That is now the spot that is least likely to see heavy rain. But the rest of the state is set for 30 to 100 millimetres. While the intense rain is falling, these yellow areas are at risk of flash flooding. Now, this warning is for tomorrow night, and during the day on Thursday, it'll spread eastwards after that. Then, as the rain is falling on already wet catchments and our dams are full, that amount of water is a significant threat. Major flooding is a major concern. Be on alert later this week if you're near any of these rivers. Around the nation tomorrow, remaining dry from Brisbane to Canberra. Just a few millimetres in showers in Hobart and Adelaide, mostly sunny in Perth. To Victoria, it begins as hit and miss showers, mainly in the northeast. Then the afternoon and evening has widespread rain over the north and west of the state. Only local storms in the west with heavy rain. That's just a precursor to what we'll see on Thursday. Closer in, mild and gusty northerly winds, generally dry in the morning. Now, there is the slight risk of a thunderstorm, but generally it is just light rain tomorrow, slowly developing in the afternoon and evening. The city does look dry during the morning, then just a bit of light rain in the afternoon and evening. We'll have a gusty top of 20. Now, Thursday, that is when we see the heavier rain in Geelong and the far west during the day, thanks to that warning, spreading through the city and suburbs on Thursday night. Dangerous on our roads as water may quickly come up, That is on Thursday night. So on Thursday, we do have rain during the day. It increases at night, and across the Melbourne area, it is likely to add up to 40 to 70 millimetres as we go later Wednesday and through Thursday. Then it eases finally on Friday. Skip right through all of these 18s and 19s, not much happening. A sunny 23 next Wednesday. Light rain tomorrow, afternoon and evening, top of 20. Rain increases Thursday, and then it's heaviest here Thursday night, Mitch.
So we have been well and truly warned about this.
That we have indeed. So Victoria tomorrow, north and west, that's when we start to see it. It increases on Thursday, and in Melbourne it comes to us on Thursday night.
Yeah, please take care, everybody, and heed the warnings. Now here's what's on Sunrise in the morning.
Thanks, Mitch. Tomorrow on Sunrise, Jamie Lee Curtis is dropping in as Halloween ends her incredible 44-year legacy as she says goodbye to her most famous film character.
Plus, here's Australia's answer to Gordon Ramsay. See why Colin Fassnidge is swearing up a storm in Kitchen Nightmares. See you in the morning, Melbourne.
And that's the way it is this Tuesday, the 11th of October. Thanks for your company. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.